The numbers are no longer there for the Republicans, as was the case at the beginning of this year. We are now at the stage where there's actually looking like no worse than a 4 or 5 vote difference in the organization of the House.
All right, well, we thank you very much, gentlemen. That is KCBS Inside. Phil Mateer, former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown. Phil will be back this afternoon at 5:50 with Patty Rising and Brett Burkhart. We are on to the Money Watch now on KCBS. Jason's off today, so Scott Carr joins us from the Bloomberg Newsroom.
Thank you and good morning. With mortgage rates jumping above 5% now for a 30-year fixed, the former home purchase and refinancing boom is going bust. The mortgage industry seeing its first lenders go out of business. And although analysts tell Bloomberg we're not set up for anything like a repeat of the housing crash 15 years ago, they do expect a rising tide of layoffs in a business that right now employs hundreds of thousands. It's the largest deal of its kind ever in college sports. Fox, CBS, and NBC will collectively pay $1.1 billion a year for broadcast rights to the Big Ten games. That 7-year contract will begin next season. All the major stock indexes remain lower today. The Dow's off by 228 points. The S&P 500 lower by 47. The Nasdaq down 237 points. I'm Scott Carr, Bloomberg Business for KCBS.
Duran in concert. September 4th, Chase Center. Duran. Guests Nile Rodgers and Chic. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. The new album, Future Past, out now. Don't miss Duran Live.
This is the Eye in the Sky Traffic Watch, brought to you by Ring Central. This is Neil, your eye on traffic, and today looks like a doozy. You want my advice? See on Ring Central. They put call, meet, and message all in one app, so you can connect with anyone, anytime. I'm hearing from Chet in the studio. You're breaking up, Chet. Looks like you should have called on Ring Central.
Ring Central. Simpler.
It's not often that something you like is actually good for you. Take sleeping on your side. Studies indicate that sides help with nighttime breathing. At European Sleepworks, they have many options to help side sleepers create the comfort and they need. From their unique contoured mattresses to their patented custom-fit oxygen pillows. After all, for over 50 years, they've been working on your side. And that's a good thing. European Sleepworks at Adeline and Ashby in Berkeley or online at sleepworks.com.
I'm Tara Katz. When the family at Habits Law represents your family, we put a whole team of people to work on your case. We cover all the expenses. Payment is a percentage of the money we win for you.
If we weren't good at what we do, Habits Law could not survive.
When you've been injured in a traffic accident or in any other way, call Habits Law. The first thing we're going to do is make sure you get some help immediately.
We're going to make sure you have what you need.
We answer questions and solve problems 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Tarek will take your call. I will take your call. Your case manager will take your call. Every person on your legal team will take your call.
When you've been injured, you need help. Habits Law is here to make sure you get that help, financial help.
I'm Omar Habits, and I want to be your advocate.
We have an office near you.
Visit habitslaw.com.
HABBAS law.com.
KCBS News Time, 7:58. We're headed back to your local Honda dealer's traffic center to get an update on this very busy drive from Kim Wunderlich. Yeah, mostly we're just looking at the aftermath of earlier problems now. So that all lanes are open into the MacArthur interchange. This has been long affecting the East Shore Freeway. Melissa was a deadly crash in the 5 o'clock hour on the carpool lane flyover that leads off of 80 to the Bay Bridge. That has now been cleared. Traffic is actually starting to recover. We're looking at sluggish traffic through Berkeley. The tight part really is on westbound 80 as you approach Barrett Avenue. There's still some stop and go down around Albany Hill. By the time you get down past Gilman, that's where the traffic begins to loosen. It's still sluggish, but it looks a lot better as you make your way through Berkeley and Emeryville to the MacArthur interchange. Bay Bridge metering lights have been on, but the backup is still fairly shallow. Just around the east parking lot. West 24, there's a crash off to the side in Orinda. This is as you make your way out toward the Orinda Crossroads. Traffic is still a bit sluggish out from St. Stephen's on 24 heading toward the Caldecott Tunnel. Interstate, or Highway 4 rather, from Pittsburgh all the way to Willow Pass westbound 4 is still under the speed limit. There's no accident. Commute on our hands here. Your next update at 8:08 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
Sunny and warm today after the morning overcast. Look for highs from the 60s at the coast, 70s and 80s around the bay, into the mid to upper 90s in the inland areas. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
It is Friday, August 19th, 2022. Coming up on KCBS.
This is Matt Bigler in Oakland. Governor Newsom is threatening to cut off state funding unless the city moves faster to clean up the region's largest hole. I'm Michael Wald. The Bay Area route for California's high-speed rail gets the go-ahead from state officials, bringing the project one step closer.
And a tense standoff over a nuclear power plant in Ukraine.
When you need to know, KCBS AM, KFRC FM, and HD1, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, and East Station.
It's 8 o'clock.
KCBS News on the Hour, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. There's a stark warning today from the UN Secretary General about Europe's largest nuclear plant. It's in the crosshairs of the fight in Ukraine.
The area needs to be demilitarized. Any potential damage to Zaporizhia is suicide.
Antonio Gutierrez with that plea as both Ukraine and Russia point fingers of blame for military attacks in the area, which is controlled by Russian forces. CBS's Charlie D'Agata.
You've got the UN, the United States, the IAEA striking these alarm bells, both sides, the Russians and Ukrainians, saying this is a potentially catastrophic situation there. Yet there has been no progress of any suggestion that either side is either Ukraine will stop shelling those areas or that the Russians will withdraw and demilitarize not just the plant, but the regions around the plant.
The possible crimes have been outlined, but more detail from David that prompted the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago is still to come. A judge has ordered redacted portions to be released. Former federal prosecutor Scott Frederickson.
We can look forward to discovering a few more tantalizing. For the most part, we're not going to see the core of what we're all very interested in.
Now to Alabama, where authorities have arrested a 39-year-old in connection with a string of apparently random shootings along Interstate 85.
During a search of Mr. Brown's vehicle, the Auburn Police Department located a large cache of firearms and ammunition, to include more than 2,000 rounds of ammunition. We also recovered the firearm that we believed was used in all three shootings.
Auburn, Alabama, Assistant Police Chief Michael Harris says one driver suffered a serious head wound. Turning to the synthetic opioid fentanyl, it's responsible for nearly 70% of deadly overdoses, and it's the leading cause of death now for people 18 to 45 years old. Ann Milgram, administrator at the Drug Enforcement Administration, tells CBS Mornings.
Social media it's essentially a superhighway. It's also anonymous. And again, think about, someone doesn't have to walk to a street corner to buy drugs. You have kids sitting in their bedroom. Anyone with a smartphone has a drug dealer with them.
Sunday is National Prevention and Awareness Day. At least 2 of 3 people aboard 2 small planes were killed when they collided yesterday while trying to land at an airport in Watsonville, California. This man saw it happen.
It was too horrific collision. It wasn't like they just barely rubbed up against each other. It was almost like a missile hitting another plane.
An investigation into the cause is underway. The Dow is down 246, S&P off 50. This is CBS News.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Visit libertymutual.com to learn more.
It is 8:03 at the Bay Area's news station, KCBS. Expect mostly sunny skies once the overcast dissipates. Good morning. I'm Melissa Colross.
And I'm Eric Thomas.
Here's what's happening.
Governor Newsom is taking Oakland to task for not moving fast enough to clean up the city's most notorious homeless encampment. KCBS's Matt Bigler joins us live near the Wood Street encampment to explain. Matt?
Good morning, Eric. In a 4-page letter, Governor Newsom's office excoriates the city of Oakland for its handling of the Wood Street encampment, which has become a dumping ground for stolen vehicles. It's also been the source of scores of fires, including one 2 months ago, you may remember, that actually stopped traffic on 880. The smoke was that bad. Daniel Burns, who lives nearby in a condo, says the unhoused have basically taken over this area.
They've blocked Wood Street, so you can't have access anymore. The illegal dumpers come there and dump everything, and 91 fires in a year. It's pretty bad.
Newsom is threatening to withhold $4.7 million in state funds given to the city to house the 200 people who live here, including Messiah Ali, who says he's called this place home for 10 years.
There's nowhere to go. Most of the people here was ran out from different cities and different parts of Oakland. They told us to come here.
KCBS has contacted Mayor Libby Schaaf's office for comment, but have not received a response. Next week, a federal judge is expected to decide if Caltrans can move forward with plans to finally clear out the encampment. Live along Wood Street in Oakland, Matt Bigler, KCBS.
Thank you, Matt. In San Francisco, city officials are in talks with SF State about whether it makes sense to open up an underutilized university parking lot for RV parking for the homeless. Dozens of RVs right now are parking along Winston Drive and Lake Merced Boulevard, and families that live in them have been asking the city to find them a safer place to park than alongside busy roads where there are no power, water, or sewage hookups. Supervisor Gordon Marr says the lot would help those families. The lot would have the facilities those families need. They'd be added there, and CSU's Board of Trustees would have to approve a plan to lease the space. A spokeswoman for the city's homelessness department tells the Chronicle the city's looking at the property for potential RV parking, but no site has been selected.
California's High-Speed Rail Authority has approved the roughly 49-mile route connecting San Francisco and San Jose. KCBS's Mike DeWald reports the move comes despite some concern from Bay Area cities. Mike?
Well, Eric, if you're looking to get to Los Angeles from San Francisco by rail, the Salesforce Transit Hub will one day be your starting point. The move by California's High-Speed Rail Board completes the environmental go-ahead for the project from the Bay Area through the Central Valley, bringing the 220-mile-per-hour electric rail system a step closer to construction. San Francisco Mayor London Breed.
Once high-speed rail is fully operating, it will be the equivalent of taking 400,000 passenger vehicles off our roads every year.
The Bay Area route approved by the board yesterday means the high-speed rail system will share a corridor with Caltrain on the peninsula. The city of Millbrae voiced concerns that rail could upend development plans near its station shared by BART and Caltrain, but the rail authority pledged to work with the city. This is State Senator Scott Wiener.
The fact that traveling from San Francisco and the Bay Area to Los Angeles takes twice as long by train as by car should be embarrassing for all of us.
Two Southern California stretches still need approval, one connecting Palmdale and Burbank, as well as one between Los Angeles and Anaheim. Reporting live at the Salesforce Transit Center in San Francisco, Mike DeWald, KCBS.
Mike, thanks a lot. And don't forget, next hour, Ask an Expert. We'll be talking about the latest COVID variant and how to avoid it. That's next hour at 9:20, and you can send us your questions to askus@kcbsradio.com.
Just ahead on KCBS, Governor Newsom could sign a bill today to create the country's first official safe injection site. Let's head over to your local Honda dealer's traffic center now to get an update on the drive. Here's Kim Wonderly. Yeah, things have calmed down considerably now, and we're looking at some recovery on Interstate 80, although it's still slow, no doubt about it. This report brought to you by Pacific Private Money. We got off to a very bad start with a fatal crash that occurred on the ramp that takes you into the MacArthur Maze from Interstate 80. It was the carpool lane that had been shut down for so long, but they reopened it, and now we're just starting to see the recovery. So westbound 80, the Chilton Auto Body Collision Cam sees the slow traffic starting about San Pablo Dam Road. It's particularly heavy through El Cerrito, coming around Albany Hill. That's where things start to loosen up, but this is also impacting eastbound 580 out of Richmond. That ramp from Bayview trying to feed onto Interstate 80 is stop and go. The Pacific Private Money Bridge report looks at the Bay Bridge. Now, there hasn't been much of a wait at the toll plaza. The metering lights have been coming on, but there's a fairly shallow backup here. Richmond San Rafael Bridge, it's a little slow beyond Castro Street as you come aboard. Once you get onto that span heading into Marin County, you are at the speed limit. No delays on the San Mateo Bridge. There's just some heavy traffic on the Foster City side reaching 101 on westbound 92. Well, Pacific Private Money can help bridge the